Hey guys, welcome back to my channel, Ship and Read. Today I'll be doing yet another Goodreads vlog, reading style kind of vlog. And for this time, I'm going to focus on mystery slash thrillers. So before I dive right into all the books that I'm hoping to pick up, if you are new to this channel, please don't hesitate to subscribe down below, as well as hit the notification bell to get notifications every time I post a new video. But let's get started. So as always, I have my laptop over here, and I'm going to go through the top 10 books and see which books I'll be picking up for this video. So the winner of this category is actually The Guest List by Lucy Foley. This is a book where it's set on an island. It follows a bride, the +1 best man, wedding planner, and bridesmaid, and how all of them have secrets and motives, but one of them is apparently a murderer. So I'm excited for it. I had lots of great things when this book first came out, so definitely cannot wait to see if this book lives up to all the hype. Then the runner-up is actually Home Before Dark by Riley Sager. This is the book that I will be picking up as well. I'm so excited for it. I've heard great things about this book, about this author. I've only read one book from this author before, which is The Final Girls, which I really enjoy, like a huge cliffhanger, so, or like huge plot twist, so I have really equally high hopes for this one. By the way, I'm not going to go too much into any of these books, mainly because for mystery thrillers I try to not know too much about each book, but I do know that Home Before Dark has some like creepy supernatural ghostly elements to it. The next book over here is The Sundown Motel by Simone St. James. This is a book that I will be picking up as well. I have read one of her other books before and I really enjoyed it. I read The Broken Girls and it was creepy, but like just like it was like a really good book. Like it was just engaging, it was atmospheric, I was always riveted by what was going on, so I have equally high hopes for this book. So yeah, this is the third book that I will be picking up for this video. Then this next book over here is When No One Is Watching by Alyssa Cole. This is a book that I would not be picking up, just didn't really have an interest in it, so not be picking up this book. The next book over here is The Wives by Taryn Fisher. This is a book that I did pick up back when it came out. I want to say like last year or something. I read this during my vacation to Asia before the pandemic hit, so it's been like almost 2 years at this point, and I enjoyed it. Like it was different than what I expected, to be honest. The plot twist was like really out there, so yeah. Anyways, moving on to the next book, which is The Searcher by Tana French. This is a book that I would not be picking up, just never really had an interest in any of the books actually by this author. The next book over here is The Boy from the Woods by Harlan Coben. This is a book that I had, like, I don't know, like I'm intrigued by it, but I don't think I'm actually gonna pick it up this time around. The next book over here is One by One by Ruth Ware. This is a book that I will be picking up. I really enjoyed Ruth Ware's other book before. I have read The Death of Mrs. Westaway, and I also have The Turn of the Key. I haven't read that one yet. So I really enjoyed The Death of Mrs. Westaway. That I have pretty high hopes for this one. All I know is that this one's supposedly set in like a snowy seclusion and they're kind of like trying to survive. Yeah, not really sure. The next book over here is The Devil in the Dark Water by Stuart Turton. I am going to pick up this book. I don't have it right now. I actually just ordered on Amazon, on Barnes & Noble. They had a 50% off sale recently and this was on there, so I was like, might as well pick it up and, you know, check it out for myself. It was already on my list anyways, mainly because I have read one of his other books, which is The 7.5 Deaths of Evelyn Hardcastle, which I really enjoyed. It was atmospheric, it was riveting. I really enjoy like learning more about like what was going on as like the person went through like body after body and getting like their insight on like this whole day's events. I don't know, it's just like a really like it was a really like enrapturing premise, so I really enjoyed that book, and so when I saw that this book was coming out, I was like, I'm equally as intrigued. The last and final book for this video is Long Bright River by Liz Moore. This is a book that I will be picking up as well. All it says is that two sisters travel the same streets as though their lives couldn't be more different. Then one of them goes missing. So I really don't know too much in terms of what to expect from this book, but we'll see how this one goes. But this was the 10th book on this list, so I will be picking up this book because I have it already from Book of the Month. So that's all to say for this incredibly quick intro. These are the 5 books plus Devil in the Dark Water, which has not arrived yet, but these are the 6 books that I'll be picking up eventually for this vlog, for this video. I'm excited for it. I feel like now that fall is coming, I'm pre-filming this obviously because this is like an intro. I'm excited to kind of like get into all like the spooky-ish thriller books, and this will definitely satisfy all of my cravings for that. So let me know down below if you have read any of these books before. Do you have any mystery slash thrillers that you really well recommended to me so I can just kind of pick it up in the future? So I'm excited to dive into these books, and I'll see you guys after I finish the first one. jumping on quickly right now to talk about this book over here, which I just finished yesterday. This is Long Bright River by Liz Moore. This book is basically about a detective who finds out that her sister has been missing for over a month, and she starts to find out, like, you know, start getting some clues and starts investigating for where her sister is. And in the meantime, you also get like flashbacks of what happened when they were younger, because her sister is living a very different life from hers. This woman is a police detective, and she had a young son called Thomas, and she's been just kind of, you know, living life, being a detective, being a police officer, whereas on the flip side, her sister has actually been suffering and dealing with, you know, drugs and prostitution and just basically living a very different life from hers. So after she found out that her sister's missing, she just starts to investigate and find out what happens. And this book was interesting. I feel like in the beginning it started off very slow. Like, it started off as like a 2-star read. I was not invested in it at all, and I actually contemplated DNFing it, but then I didn't really know what book to pick up next, so I just continued on with it. And then as the book progressed, it became like, it ended on like a 4-star read, which is why ultimately I'm gonna give this book 3 stars. So it's like right in the middle, because I feel like it started off slow but ended on a good note. There were just a lot of things at the end that I was like, wow, like I didn't see coming about this at all. I really like kind of the interactions between her and her sister, and just learning more about the dynamics, and just kind of like some of the hidden past and secrets between her and her family. Just there's a lot of stuff that happened in this book that, you know, dealt with, like, you know, like parental like neglect, not just that, but like drug abuse. There's a lot of stuff that this book discussed, and it was intense. But the thing is, at the end of the day, I don't think I am a huge fan of like police like mystery books for some reason. I just feel like I just don't care about them as much. Like, I realize that when I like mystery thrillers, I love mystery thrillers, but I prefer it when it's more like domestic or like paranormal. I don't care much for like crime, police mystery thrillers, if that makes any sense. So that's kind of why I was like meh about this book in the beginning, because I dealt a lot with like the police like kind of dynamics and relationships with her sergeant, with their lieutenants, and just her other peers. And there's also a lot of discussion about like police corruption in this book as well, which I thought was really interesting, especially like in today's world. But yeah, like this book was interesting at the end. Like, I definitely like, I'm happy I finished it, but if I had read this like physically or on Kindle, I think I would have DNF'd it because it was just like going really slow. But thankfully I had listened to some audiobooks, so I was just like listening to my commutes and stuff, and they just like went by a lot faster. And that's why ultimately like I just ended up just continuing on it, because it just started getting a little more interesting towards like halfway. Okay, so I am incredibly confused right now, because I'm actually on my last book for this vlog, and I realized that either I have not been updating you guys whatsoever, or I misplaced or lost and accidentally deleted my clips, because I have looked everywhere through my flash drives and like my memory cards, and it's nowhere to be found. But I swore I'd been updating you guys, so I'm just like, how the heck did that happen? Because I read a lot. Like, it's already like October, and some of these books I read like mid-August, so it's been like quite a hot minute. So I need to like basically like refilm everything, or like update you guys on like my reading, because I have 4 books I need to discuss right now. Thankfully I did finish one of them like a day or 2 ago, so I already did that clip separately, but I'm just confused as to like how I did not update you guys. And the thing is, like, I already like updated, like I thought I updated you guys, and I've been trying right now. I'm like currently in the process of like packing and moving, because my family's trying to do like construction in this current place, like renovations, so we need to move out so they can come in and do constructions. And so because of that, like I've been trying to like declutter a lot of my things right now and just selling some of my books. So like half of these books, like majority of the books, I don't even have anymore, because I literally just sold them like yesterday or like 2 days ago. So I'm like, I don't know what happened, but yeah, let's just talk about the 4 books that I have read already. So the first book over here is The Guest List by Lucy Foley. This book I ended up giving 3 stars. I thought the beginning was really interesting. So this book basically follows a group of people who are attending the wedding. So it follows the bride, it follows the +1, it also follows the best man, it follows the bridesmaid, as well as the wedding planner. So it basically follows like these 5 main characters, and then everyone else is kind of just like, you know, side characters. So it follows this wedding on this remote island in Scotland, and it's never been done before. There's never been a wedding there, but the wedding wedding, and the bride and the groom are these like kind of like top like people, like very, very famous. They're all like very they're like up there in like the group, and so they decide to kind of like do things a little bit differently and host this wedding on this remote island. And so they have everyone gather there, and things start to kind of happen the day of the wedding, specifically the night of the wedding, when suddenly something happens and someone ends up dead. So this book kind of follows the flashbacks of like what happened beforehand, kind of the events leading up to it, and like back and forth in terms of like who could have done it, etc. I thought the premise sounded really, really fascinating, but I felt like the ending was just okay to me. So I think that's why I ended up giving this 3 stars. Like, it was a good read, but it wasn't amazing. It might even be like, actually, like, to be honest, when I compare this one and the book that I just finished, I gave them the same rating, but I felt like they're a little bit different. I felt like this book had a more intense premise. It was just the ending that was like okay. The other one started off really slow but ended up being really interesting. So that was kind of like my only like differences between the two, I guess. Overall, I did enjoy this book though. I just wasn't like amazing. I expected like a lot more based on all the reviews that I saw, etc. So that's all I can really say about this book. But yeah, this is the first book that I had finished for this vlog. The next book that I finished is Home Before Dark by Riley Sager. This book basically follows a young woman where when she was younger, when she was a child, her parents and her end up escaping from their home because of something that happened, and her father ends up going on to write a paranormal, like haunted house kind of story detailing what happened to them, what made them run away from their home so fearfully. And so the book kind of follows her like many years later, where she never believed what happened, but the thing is she also doesn't remember anything that happened during her time there. It's only been for a few weeks. So she's been kind of just like asking her parents this entire time, like, what really happened? Like, can you tell me the truth? Like, obviously ghosts don't exist, so like what truly happened during that time period? And then one day her father ends up passing away, and so she ends up inheriting this house, and she's also a like old homes restorer. So she ends up deciding to go back to this old manor and restore it to its former glory. In the meantime, try to figure out like what truly happened, but also like renovating and trying to sell it off later on. This book was intense. I was so like freaked out by a lot of stuff. Like, Riley Sager does a really good job of depicting just eerie vibes and creepiness and just like these paranormal activities. I've read many books by Riley Sager before, and each one has always gotten me kind of like creeped out. And when I say many, I think I've read like one other book, but still, like, it was a really good book that I read. And I do have other books by Riley Sager, so like I do have other books I want to read from this author, but this book was just done so well. Like, I was so creeped out the entire time I was reading it, and I can definitely see why everyone loved it so much, because it is just good. And the ending was such a huge plot twist. I did not expect it at all. Like, I was expecting something totally different, and then when the ending finally occurred, I was like, wow, like, this is huge plot twist is all I can really say. But it was a great read, and I was super excited that I read this, like, just amping me up for the spooky season, because I did read this like back in August. So I feel like I did talk about this a lot more in my like August wrap-ups, by the way, which is probably why I thought I talked about it. But anyways, point is though, it was an amazing book. 4.5 stars for sure. This next book that I picked up is The Sundown Motel by Simone de St. James. This book was also amazing. It was 4.5 stars. They were like both really close to like 5-star reads. I just felt like there's always something missing from both books that doesn't really like give it the extra oomph to give it 5 stars. But this book basically follows a like kind of like dual timelines, where this one woman, I forget her name now. It's like, I think it's been a while, but I think her name is like Viv or something, where she ends up running away from home back in like the 80s, and she ends up in this small town in New York called Fell. And from there she kind of like established herself, like finds a job there, working for a like night clerk at the Sundown Motel, and she's been noticing like some ghostly apparitions there. That she's working there, she's not really sure why. Before long, she ends up finding herself in some sort of mystery with this traveling salesman, and she's trying to figure out like what's going on with this person, because in the meantime there's also a lot of disappearances, specifically like female disappearances, and they're all like centered around this tiny town. And she's like, what is going on? Like, why is a small town like, you know, having so many like disappearances and like murders and everything. So she finds herself in this like murder mystery case where she's trying to like figure out what's happening, and she's just like, you know, dealing with all of that and figuring out like who's really behind it, like who's this traveling salesman, like is he part of it, is he not, like what's going on. In the meantime, it follows, you know, many years later, where I forget her name now, but she is actually the niece of Viv. I hope her name is actually Viv. The thing is, Viv actually disappeared as well. So this young woman was growing up, you know, knowing that her whole family had a like a mystery, like a disappearance. So she's been trying to like figure out what happened to her aunt like from a long time ago, and she ends up, you know, going to Fell as well, and decided to like, you know, do some investigation on her own. And before long, she sees a bunch of like distinctions and parallels and like clues to like what had happened in the 80s with these disappearances and what that might have, you know, like connected with her aunt. And this book was so good. It was equally as eerie and creepy as Home Before Dark, but it was like a very different way, because yes, they both have ghosts in it, but I felt like this one was more eerie in the sense of like just how dangerous people are and just how it is like being a female, especially like when you're by yourself and, you know, in kind of middle of nowhere kind of situation. It just like felt a lot more relatable. The other one, like Home Before Dark, was creepy, but it was purely like a haunted house aspect to it. This one was creepy with the ghosts, but also creepy because of real life situations as a female. So it was just more intense. I think it was just really good. Like I really like the characters. I really like, you know, the anticipation of like finding out what was truly happening and like what happened to her aunt all those years ago. And it was just a really great read. Like I was so observed like the entire time. I listened to both on audiobooks, by the way, and I was just like enamored with what was going on. I was just like wanted to like find out more, and it just kept me at the edge of my seat. Anyways, moving on to the last book that I had read so far is One by One by Ruth Ware, which I also gave a 4.5 stars. So this book was very different, I think, than the other two. This book follows a group of people where they belong to a company called Snoop, and this is like a music app where people can like snoop onto what other people are listening to, depending if they're on, depending if they allow them to. And apparently it's like a really like up and coming app. And so this, you know, company decides to like do a little like company trip going up to the mountains for like a ski trip. Before long though, an accident occurs where they have an avalanche and someone ends up, you know, missing, and turns out that person is dead like pretty early on in the book, so it's not a spoiler. And before long though, things start to happen and people are trying to like survive. So this book was really good on a different level. I felt like the other two were like ghostly apparitions, like paranormal elements to it. This is purely not. This is like a survival book, like to its finest, where everyone is just trying to survive in this, you know, like snowstorm, where there's an avalanche, where they can't leave because everything is like under snow, and there's also no electricity, so everyone's, you know, starting to freeze to death. They're running out of food because they can't, you know, heat up anything, etc. And there's just like crazy stuff happening. So yeah, it was a really intense book as well, just really different from the other two. But I honestly, I can't decide out of the three which one I like more, but they were like all amazing reads. And yeah, like I am really happy that I read all three of them back to back basically, because they were just amazing. Like I really got like hyped up into the spooky season, because I just wanted to read like all the mysteries and thrillers after that. And yeah, that's all I can really say for that particular book. Oh, and also I want to add that the ending was not what I saw coming at all. Like, I not sure why I didn't see it coming, because like in retrospect I was like, that makes sense, but at the time of though, I like just never really thought that was what was happening. Like I wasn't suspecting this one person, that's all I can say. But yeah, let's say for this like long clip, because clearly I don't remember how to like do these things and update you guys, or that I forgot and deleted them, so love that for myself. In the meantime though, I am reading my last book right now, which is The Devil in the Dark Water, which I'm excited for. I only just started this morning, so I have not made much progress, but I hope to finish that book sometime soon, and then I have this video up in the next week or so. But anyways, I'm excited, and I will update you guys when I am done with this vlog. Okay, so I am here to finally end this vlog because I did manage to finish my last book for this video, and that is The Devil in the Dark Water by Stuart Turton. This book, unfortunately, I'm going to give it 3.5 stars. It was interesting. I feel like it's very similar to his like writing style. It's kind of like it's one of those books where you're just kind of like it's a slow build up. It's really hard to describe it, but it's a very slow build up, and you know, it's also kind of like confusing in the beginning because there's just so many layers. But what I did like about this book was how when everything was unraveled, they were just like slowly peeling like an onion. There's like layer after layer that needs to be like revealed, and I really enjoyed that. But because of like how slow it was in the beginning, and I felt like I wasn't really like, I was never like super invested with the story as I would have liked. That's why I ended up giving this book a 3.5 stars. I feel like there was just so much that I felt like could have been like super more engaging. I just wasn't as invested, and I feel like I was expecting more just because I really enjoyed the previous book, which is 7.5 Deaths of Evelyn Hardcastle. I think I gave that book like 4 or 4.5 stars, something like that. It was like definitely up there, and this book unfortunately was just not the same. I also felt like it was just a bit confusing with all the different like layers, but that being said though, I definitely made the reveal much more satisfying because I did not expect that person at all. But like in retrospect, I'm like, that makes sense, like I should have thought about that, but unfortunately I didn't. But that's what I can say for this book over here. I enjoyed it. Like I felt like it was good. Oh yes, before I forget, like what about this book? So this book is about a guy, his name is Errant. I think that's how you pronounce it, where he is on this ship right now with his kind of like uncle in a way, who's like the general, like governor general, as with his whole entire family, as well as one of his like technically like the guy that he works for, which is Sammy, and his job is supposed to be like Sammy's bodyguard. But Sammy is right now under some sort of trial, so he is actually being imprisoned in this ship, and for something that he's not even sure what he did, but there is all these charges against him. So he is with him right now to try to like prove his innocence and protect him while he can on this ship, along with like various other like individuals. And as the book continues, like something starts to happen like right before they set off, where there is some sort of leper saying that like, hey, you know, like something's wrong with this ship, like you guys shouldn't go on it, like it's cursed, etc. And so people were like, you know what, we're just gonna go on it anyways. Like they just decided to like forgo the whole warning, even though there were people that was worried, but because of like situations they couldn't really do anything about it. And so as the book continues, they slowly uncover this like symbol where it's like the symbol of O Tom, where it basically means that it's like a deal with the devil. So someone clearly on the ship has summoned this devil, and things are kind of like happening, like people are ending up dead, there is like a lot of craziness happening, and Errant, who is trying to like kind of figure and solve this everything, because Sammy, who's supposed to be like kind of like Sherlock Holmes in a way, where he is the one who's usually solving all these mysteries and figuring things out, Errant is right now doing it on his behalf because, you know, Sammy is imprisoned. So Errant is trying to like figure out, along with some other individuals such as Sarah, who is actually the governor general's wife, and she's also trying to figure things out. I just felt like the ending also was really bizarre in a way. Like it's really hard to say. I just feel like the way, I love the reveal of everything, but then once everything was revealed, like the aftermath of it, I just felt it was a very like sudden, like, okay, everything else is happening right now and we're just gonna do this and then we're calling it quits. So I feel like that pacing was really off, by the way. So yeah, that's all I can say for this particular book. So anyways, let's just kind of like wrap all the books that I did read for this vlog. So for this video, I did read a total of 6 books. So obviously I read this book over here, which is The Devil in the Dark Water, which I gave 3.5 stars. I also read Long Bright River, which I gave 3 stars. I also read One by One, which I gave 4.5 stars. The Sundown Motel, which I gave 4.5 stars. Home Before Dark, which I gave 4.5 stars. And The Guest List, which I gave 3 stars. So out of all the books that I read, I would say One by One, Sundown Motel, and Home Before Dark are my top 3. Whereas this book actually won the best choice Goodreads Choice Award. So I don't know, I feel like out of all the books I read this time, this is actually one of my least favorites. So that's what I'm gonna say for this very quick update and like outro with this video. I really enjoyed reading. I feel like it's one of my more like comprehensive, because I actually read a lot of books during this time around. So let me know down below if you have read any of these books before, and if you did, like, what did you guys think? Who did you think should have deserved the winner for this mystery category? But as always, if you like this video, please do give me a thumbs up. I really just help out my channel. And if you'd like to see more content of me, please don't hesitate to subscribe and hit the notification down below. But as always, don't forget to follow me on Twitter and Instagram, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.